Did you know that over 60% of men focus so much on the moves, they forget the most important part of foreplay, how they touch? And studies show that for women, how they're touched often matters far more than what is done. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Georgia Bennett, and today we're diving into the science of foreplay. I'm not just talking opinion, I'm talking studies, medical journals, and real physiology. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what women actually feel during foreplay and how to use this knowledge to elevate connection, intimacy, and yes, pleasure. Let's start with the basics. Female sensation is highly nuanced. Women have thousands of nerve endings across the body, but the sensitivity isn't uniform. Research in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2017, and Archives of Sexual Behavior, 2019, shows that light, teasing touch across erogenous zones, like the neck, inner thighs, and lower back, activates the brain's pleasure centers more reliably than repetitive, technique-heavy stimulation focused only on genital areas. That means it's not just about doing the right move. Women's bodies respond best when touch is dynamic, mindful, and emotionally attuned. And here's where the science gets really interesting. Emotional connection amplifies physical response. Studies confirm that oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone, released during gentle, affectionate touch, can enhance genital blood flow and heighten arousal. So even if your technique is technically correct, without that emotional resonance, the effect is blunted. Today, we're breaking down everything science tells us about touch versus technique. We'll cover how female sensation works biologically, the role of emotional and physical stimulation together, common mistakes men make in foreplay, science-backed strategies for touch that truly works, timing, rhythm, and why they matter, how communication can dramatically improve results. By understanding these factors, you're not just improving performance, you're creating a connection that feels intimate, attentive, and truly pleasurable. And trust me, your partner will notice the difference. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications if you want clinically backed sexual health tips that actually work. This channel is all about translating research into practical action for men who want to master intimacy the right way. The science of female sensation. When it comes to foreplay, understanding female sensation is not just helpful, it's critical. Women's bodies are wired to respond to nuanced stimulation, and the difference between a touch that excites and one that falls flat often comes down to the science of the nervous system. The skin is the largest organ in the body, packed with specialized nerve endings. According to a study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2017, areas like the clitoris, vulva, nipples, neck, inner thighs, and lower back contain high concentrations of C-tactile nerve fibers, which are uniquely tuned to gentle, slow, and teasing touch. These fibers send signals directly to the brain's pleasure centers, particularly the insula and the somatosensory cortex, which integrate physical sensation with emotional and psychological response. Here's a key insight for men. It's not just about pressure or speed. Women often report that a hand that explores rhythmically, varies pressure, and pays attention to her micro cues is far more effective than repetitive, mechanical technique focused solely on the genitals. The Archives of Sexual Behavior 2019 confirms this, showing that women experience higher arousal and satisfaction when touch is attentive, responsive, and emotionally connected, compared to technique-heavy stimulation that ignores context or feedback. Another fascinating point, sensation is cumulative and nonlinear. Studies in neuroscience reveal that repeated, varied touch over multiple zones creates a cascading effect in the nervous system, gradually building arousal. This means that alternating gentle strokes, light teasing, and firmer pressure in rhythm with her responses is scientifically proven to maximize pleasure. In other words, variety and mindfulness matter more than memorized moves. Furthermore, emotional context significantly amplifies physical sensation. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, is released during intimate touch. According to research from Psychoneuroendocrinology 2018, oxytocin enhances genital blood flow, heightens tactile sensitivity, and even strengthens the brain's reward response. That's why touch alone can feel more powerful when a woman feels emotionally connected, safe, and desired. In practical terms, this means that foreplay is as much about presence and awareness as it is about technique. Paying attention to her body language, subtle sounds, and responsive feedback aligns your touch with her nervous system's natural wiring, transforming foreplay from routine to deeply pleasurable. In the next segment, we'll explore how emotional and physical stimulation work together and why ignoring one over the other can dramatically reduce satisfaction. Emotional versus physical stimulation. When it comes to foreplay, touch alone isn't the full story. Women's arousal is a sophisticated interplay between physical sensation and emotional context, and understanding this is a game changer for intimacy. Studies consistently show that emotional connection can amplify or even make possible the pleasure derived from touch. Physiologically, the body responds differently when emotional safety and connection are present. Research published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine 2018 shows that oxytocin and dopamine, key hormones in bonding and reward, are released during affectionate touch. Oxytocin increases genital blood flow, enhances sensitivity to touch, and creates a sense of closeness, while dopamine reinforces reward pathways in the brain, making touch feel more intensely pleasurable. Without this emotional context, even perfectly executed foreplay techniques can feel mechanical or unsatisfying. Here's a startling insight. Surveys indicate that up to 65% of women report that emotional connection, feeling desired, understood, and safe directly impacts their level of arousal. That means if a partner focuses solely on technique without building intimacy, they're leaving a huge part of the pleasure equation untouched. Physical stimulation without emotional resonance is like playing a piano with only half the keys. Emotional stimulation isn't just verbal, it's subtle, continuous, and multidimensional. Simple acts like sustained eye contact, gentle caresses, attentive listening, and responsive touch communicate desire and presence. According to a study in Psychology of Women Quarterly 2020, women's sexual satisfaction increases dramatically when partners demonstrate both physical attentiveness and emotional attunement during foreplay. Even small gestures, like adjusting pressure or pace based on her cues, can strengthen this connection. The takeaway for men is clear. Foreplay is not a checklist of moves. It's a dynamic conversation between bodies and minds. Physical technique activates nerve endings, but emotional engagement turns up the volume on arousal. Combining both creates a feedback loop. Emotionally attuned touch increases arousal, which then makes physical sensation more pleasurable, further strengthening intimacy. Actionable tip. During foreplay, check in subtly. Notice micro-expressions, soft sounds, or shifts in breathing. Adjust your touch in real time. This is not only backed by neuroscience, but also by surveys showing couples who practice responsive touch report significantly higher sexual satisfaction. By understanding this connection, men can elevate foreplay from a mechanical routine to a deeply intimate, mutually pleasurable experience. In the next segment, we'll tackle the most common misconceptions about technique and reveal why many men unknowingly sabotage arousal. Common misconceptions about technique. Many men approach foreplay with a moves-first mentality, believing that mastering certain techniques guarantees satisfaction. The reality? Science shows this mindset often backfires. Misunderstanding what women actually feel can reduce arousal, intimacy, and overall sexual satisfaction. One common misconception is that repetitive, high-intensity stimulation, like a singular focus on the clitoris or genital area, will automatically lead to orgasm. While direct stimulation is important, research in the Journal of Sexual Medicine 2017 indicates that women's arousal is more complex and cumulative. Focusing solely on one spot without variation or attentiveness can desensitize nerves and decrease responsiveness. In other words, too much mechanical technique can actually make foreplay less effective. Another widespread error is assuming that women prefer speed over subtlety. Light, teasing touches activate C tactile fibers, which respond best to slow, rhythmic, and affectionate stimulation. Archives of Sexual Behavior, 2019, reports that women often rate gentle, attentive touch higher than aggressive or high-pressure techniques. This is why paying attention to how she reacts, adjusting pace, pressure, and location is far more effective than rigidly following step-by-step methods. Misreading physical cues is another frequent problem. Men often interpret small movements or expressions incorrectly, assuming arousal is present when it may not be. Research published in Psychology of Women Quarterly, 2020, found that misinterpreting subtle cues contributes to dissatisfaction for both partners. Responsive foreplay requires observation, adaptability, and communication, not memorized routines. Another misconception is ignoring emotional context. Many men focus on the technique but neglect connection. Studies show that emotional attunement enhances the pleasure response to touch through oxytocin-mediated pathways. Simply put, a woman's body is more responsive when she feels desired, safe, and understood. Ignoring this aspect can render even skilled techniques ineffective. So, what's the actionable takeaway? First, foreplay should be treated as a dynamic interaction rather than a performance. Respond to her feedback in real time. Adjust pressure, tempo, and location based on what she enjoys. Second, alternate touch patterns. Vary touch patterns. Vary between light, teasing strokes, and firmer, deliberate pressure across multiple erogenous zones. Third, integrate emotional cues. Eye contact, verbal affirmation, and gentle caresses strengthen the neural and hormonal pathways that enhance arousal. By shedding these common misconceptions, men can shift from a performance-focused approach to one that prioritizes connection, responsiveness, and science-backed methods of stimulation. This isn't just about technique. It's about creating an experience that truly engages both body and mind. In the next segment, we'll break down practical, science-backed strategies for touch that works, showing exactly how to apply this knowledge to maximize female pleasure during foreplay. Practical takeaways. Touch that works. Now that we've covered the science of sensation, emotional context, and common misconceptions, it's time to translate that knowledge into practical strategies that actually work. The goal isn't memorizing a set of moves, it's learning how to touch in a way that aligns with female physiology, arousal patterns, and emotional responsiveness. 1. Mindfulness over mechanics. The first principle is simple: pay attention. Mindful touch trumps memorized technique every time. Studies in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2017, show that women's pleasure significantly increases when partners are attentive to subtle cues: breathing, muscle tension, vocalizations, and micromovements. Rather than fixating on speed or pressure, focus on how her body responds and adjust in real time. 2. Vary your touch. Women's arousal is cumulative and nonlinear. Alternating between light, teasing strokes and firmer, more deliberate pressure activates multiple types of nerve fibers simultaneously, which the brain interprets as more pleasurable. For example, start with slow, feather-like caresses on the neck, ears, and inner thighs. Gradually build intensity toward erogenous zones, then switch back to gentle teasing. Research in Archives of Sexual Behavior, 2019, confirms that variety in touch, both in location and intensity, creates the most reliable arousal pattern. 3. Engage multiple senses. Touch is the primary focus, but engaging other senses enhances the overall experience. Eye contact, whispering affirmations, or lightly tracing fingers along sensitive areas strengthens the emotional bond. Studies in Psychoneuroendocrinology, 2018, show that combining physical stimulation with emotional cues increases oxytocin release, which heightens tactile sensitivity and intensifies pleasure. 4. Communication is key. Foreplay is a conversation, not a monologue. Nonverbal cues like shifting body posture, subtle sounds, and relaxed breathing are feedback signals. Checking in verbally, asking what feels good, or adjusting pace reinforces connection and ensures your touch is aligned with her preferences. Couples who actively communicate report higher satisfaction, according to Psychology of Women Quarterly, 2020. 5. Timing and rhythm matter. Finally, rhythm is crucial. Women's nervous systems respond best to a dynamic tempo that alternates between slow, teasing strokes and firmer, deliberate pressure. Avoid rushing. Arousal builds gradually. Think of it like music. Pauses, crescendos, and shifts in tempo all contribute to a symphony of sensation. Ignoring timing and rhythm often diminishes the effectiveness of otherwise skilled technique. In short, effective foreplay is a balance of mindful touch, emotional engagement, and adaptive technique. By observing, responding, and varying your touch, you create an experience that aligns with female physiology, enhances pleasure, intimacy, and satisfaction. Remember, science shows that the most powerful touch isn't just about what you do, it's about how present, attentive, and emotionally connected you are while doing it. In the next segment, we'll discuss timing and rhythm in more detail, revealing why understanding arousal patterns is essential for maximizing female pleasure during foreplay. Timing and rhythm matter. When it comes to foreplay, touch and technique alone aren't enough. Timing and rhythm are the secret multipliers of pleasure. Women's arousal is not instantaneous. It builds gradually, often in waves, and the way stimulation is delivered over time can make a massive difference in responsiveness. Research in the Journal of Sexual Medicine 2018 highlights that female arousal is nonlinear and cumulative. In practical terms, that means short bursts of intense stimulation may feel exciting in the moment, but prolonged, varied touch across multiple erogenous zones creates a deeper, more sustained state of pleasure. Simply put, pacing your touch matters as much as the touch itself. Rhythm also plays a critical role in nerve activation. Light, teasing strokes at a slow, deliberate pace primarily activate C tactile fibers, which are highly sensitive to affectionate, gentle stimulation. When this is alternated with firmer, more deliberate pressure targeting areas like the vulva or inner thighs, it engages A-beta mechanoreceptors, which respond to higher intensity touch. By alternating these patterns, you're essentially orchestrating multiple nerve pathways to maximize arousal, a concept confirmed in studies published in Archives of Sexual Behavior, 2019. Timing isn't just about the body, it's about the emotional and psychological experience. Pausing, holding touch, or switching zones allows anticipation to build, which triggers dopamine release in the brain's reward system. Anticipation amplifies pleasure, making subsequent stimulation feel exponentially more intense. Quick, repetitive moves without variation often bypass this natural arousal buildup, leading to underwhelming experiences. Practical application: start slow, observe her responses, and gradually increase intensity. Use pauses strategically, lingering on a sensitive spot, switching to another erogenous zone, or simply holding a gentle touch can heighten tension and expectation. Vary rhythm throughout foreplay, and remember that responsiveness is more important than rigidly following a technique sequence. Another critical point: matching rhythm to feedback is essential. Pay attention to breathing, subtle movements, and sounds. These are real-time indicators of arousal patterns. Adjust your touch to synchronize with her responses, essentially playing her body like an instrument, which research shows leads to higher sexual satisfaction and deeper intimacy. In essence, timing and rhythm transform touch from mechanical action into a dynamic, interactive experience. When combined with mindful technique and emotional connection, it ensures foreplay is not only effective but deeply pleasurable. The role of communication. Foreplay isn't just about touch, technique, or timing. It's also about communication. This is where science and real-world intimacy intersect. Studies show that couples who communicate openly about sexual preferences and responses report higher satisfaction, stronger connection, and more consistent arousal. Communication, both verbal and nonverbal, is the bridge between technique and emotional resonance. First, let's talk about nonverbal communication. Subtle signals like changes in breathing, micro movements of the hips, shifts in muscle tone, or soft vocalizations are indicators of arousal. According to research in the Journal of Sexual Medicine 2018, women often express pleasure more through these cues than through direct verbal feedback. Men who learn to recognize and respond to these signals can adjust touch, pressure, and pace in real time, creating a feedback loop that enhances sensation and builds intimacy. Then there's verbal communication, which adds another layer. Simple statements like, "Does this feel good?" or asking her to guide your hand are not only non-intrusive, they increase sexual satisfaction by reinforcing emotional safety and consent. The Psychology of Women Quarterly 2020 reports that couples who use verbal cues during foreplay experience higher overall satisfaction and report feeling more understood by their partners. Importantly, verbal communication doesn't need to be awkward or scripted. It can be playful, teasing, or affirming. Communication also helps prevent the most common mistakes men make, misreading cues or relying solely on technique. Even a highly skilled touch can fall flat if it's not synchronized with her arousal pattern. By combining attentive observation with occasional verbal check-ins, you ensure that your actions align with her body's signals, maximizing pleasure and reducing frustration. Actionable tip: integrate micro check-ins seamlessly into foreplay. A light question or soft affirmation every few minutes, paired with attentive observation, can drastically improve connection. Watch her breathing, notice when she tenses or relaxes, and adjust your rhythm or pressure accordingly. Over time, you'll learn to anticipate her responses, which not only enhances pleasure, but deepens trust and intimacies. In short, communication is the amplifier of foreplay. Technique sets the stage, timing and rhythm orchestrate the response, but communication ensures that every touch hits the right notes. By combining verbal and nonverbal feedback, men can transform foreplay into a fully interactive, emotionally resonant, and scientifically backed experience. We've covered a lot, so let's break it down. Foreplay isn't just about moves or technique. It's a sophisticated interplay of touch, timing, rhythm, emotional connection, and communication. Science clearly shows that women's pleasure is maximized when all these factors are considered together. Key takeaways: touch versus technique, but technique still matters. The quality of touch, including variation, pacing, and responsiveness, activates multiple nerve pathways and creates deeper arousal. Emotional connection amplifies physical sensation. Oxytocin release during intimate touch enhances sensitivity and pleasure. Feeling safe, desired, and emotionally connected increases the effectiveness of your touch. Avoid common misconceptions. Over-focusing on one technique, ignoring cues, or rushing foreplay reduces pleasure. Mindful, adaptive touch is far more effective. Timing and rhythm are essential. Female arousal is cumulative and non-linear. Alternating gentle teasing with firmer pressure, using pauses strategically, and syncing with her responses significantly boosts pleasure. Communication is your secret weapon. Both verbal and nonverbal cues guide your touch, ensuring alignment with her arousal patterns. Check in, observe, and respond in real time. Put simply, foreplay is a dynamic, interactive experience, not a checklist. Combine mindful touch, emotional engagement, rhythm, and communication, and you'll create intimacy and pleasure that's deeply satisfying and scientifically validated. Final action step: start observing, adapting, and responding. Every body tells a story. Your attention and presence are as important as any technique you use. If you found this video helpful and want more research-backed tips for sexual health, female pleasure, and intimacy mastery, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We break down the science so you can apply it in real life. Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider for personal sexual health concerns. All content is based on publicly available research and peer-reviewed studies.